Okay, so today, what am I gonna make for you? Now look at this. Anyway, let's start cooking. Hey, guys, and welcome to my creative African cooking channel, Ndudu by Fafa, and my name is Fafa Gilbert. Now for this Christmas, I have got you guys sorted out.
Today's main ingredient is Dawadawa, which I will describe as fermented locust beans. They also refer to as nere seeds or ogiri or iru in some Nigerian languages. Now, it's best used for stews and soup, and today I'm taking it to not chop. Now, I was intrigued when I went to Ghana and Mom actually showed me the seeds. I was like, oh wow. So yes, they wash the pulp, and they also use the pulp as well for certain recipes. And then the seeds are then fermented, boiled and fermented. Now, the smell is quite pungent. I will describe it as closely related to the stinking bishop cheese. Yes. So a little goes a long way. So for this recipe, I have definitely played with flavors and, just worked with it just perfectly. So yeah, let's start. So I have carefully selected ingredients that will be readily available in Ghana. So we do have the grains of Selim, which is the wintia. Of course, it has to represent, so it has that musky taste, which is important for this recipe. And I've got some rosemary, dry rosemary. Now that complements this dish perfectly. Then we have the Dawadawa powder. So I was lucky enough to actually get that in Ghana, and that works perfectly. I'm adding some cinnamon for that sweetness and that warmth, and the Kasoa Pepper, which is the Guinean green chilies. Now they're so scented and beautiful, and they work with this. And I've got some cloves, which is known as pepper, and then the African nutmeg as well. So you can see that all these ingredients, I've carefully selected them for them to complement the Dawadawa because it's quite pungent, so I want something that complements it and makes it better. Absolutely. So I have got my butter here, which I have melted. I know, this is just going to be some infusions that just saying, yeah, girl. So I'm adding my Kasoa pepper to the butter, as well as my cinnamon sticks, the pepper known as cloves, the African nutmeg, and wintia. And I'm just going to cook this on a medium heat. So I'm going to allow this infusion to take place. And I want the butter to burn slightly to give it that brownish color as well. So it's nutty. The cloves will give that warmth, and the cinnamon as well gives that sweetness in the background. And the Kasoa pepper gives it this aromatic flavor as well. Wintia is just like black peppercorn but in a muskier taste. So that just works perfectly. So I've cooked this for about 5 minutes, and I think it's now ready for me to add my, other ingredients, which would be the Dawadawa and the rosemary. So you see, when I say it's infusion, it's infusion. So this Christmas, when I say I've taken care of you guys, I've taken care of you guys, absolutely. I mean, this is the first recipe ever. You know what I mean? We're creating new flavors. So you want something different for Christmas? Absolutely. And this is a perfect vegetarian dish as well. You can always include some mushrooms for your guests who are vegetarians, and you're onto a winner. Seriously, because it's going to be like, what? Now, if you've watched my previous video on how to cook the rice, I always say you need to wash your rice so the water runs clear, and then you soak it for about 10 to 15 minutes in warm water. So that's exactly what I've done, and I'm using basmati rice here. The reason is I like basmati rice, especially when it's aged for a minimum of 10 years. It's better. It has better taste, and it works perfectly with this dish. So, you can see this, how brown it is because I've added the Dawadawa. And because you've added the Kasoa pepper as well, it gives the aromatic smell. So it sort of, kills that sort of pungent smell a bit, but the flavor is still there in the rice. So when you're cooking it, okay, Dawadawa sometimes can be pungent in terms of the smell. So the chilies and the other spices, the cloves and the cinnamon, just complements it perfectly with the rosemary, and that just gives it that aromatic smell. So yeah, it's one that you'd be like, wow. So what I'm doing is I'm just frying this rice for about 3 to 4 minutes, just to ensure that the infusion has taken place, that every grain of rice is covered in this beautiful mixture of spices. This rice is well fried. Look at that infusion. Look at the wintia, the cloves, the Kasoa Pepper. And I think now it's ready for me to add my water. Now, the best thing about rice is, especially when you wash it till it runs clear, it means that you get rid of the starch. And when you soak it as well, it means that, you're cutting your cooking time in half, and you also cook with less water. So now I'm just adding just about enough water, and you can just say it's about 1.5 centimeters just above the rice. Reason is I'm going to allow the steam to actually cook this, you see. So I'm adding my salt to taste as you do. And as I always say, the amount of salt comes down to your personal preference. But this should not take more than a leveled teaspoonful of salt to add to it. Now, what I'm going to do is also add some white peppercorns. I'm adding the whole white peppercorns. I mean, if you have the powdered versions, not a problem. But I like it whole like that, because once it's cooked and you chew in the rice, and you bite into that just makes a big difference. It's an explosion of flavor. And of course, once the rice is cooked, you take the cinnamon sticks, the wintia, and the cloves out of it. But I would definitely leave the white peppercorns in there. And that's just like, mwah, mwah. Yet again, it gives it that aromatic taste. Exactly. So next thing is you need to allow your rice to start boiling. So now that it's coming to the boil, I know I can now seal it and cover it. So I'll be using my grease-proof paper, which I'll scrunch up. And there. So what I'm doing is I'm actually covering the rice, and I'm going to allow the steam to cook this rice. Now what happens is the steam usually would create, the condensation creates that water to settle at the top of the greaseproof paper. So that will cook the top of the rice, as well as the steam from beneath would also cook the rice from underneath it. So you end up with that perfectly cooked rice. Now, I'm going to lower the heat to its lowest setting. And when I say its lowest settings, very low settings, because it started to boil and I've trapped the steam in. I'm going to leave this to cook for about 15 to 20 minutes, untouched. Don't remove it, don't do anything. You can crack on and do what you've got to do. When you come back, you end up with a beautiful, fluffy rice. My inspiration for this rice comes from the fact that I notice most Ghanaians do like their fried rice. So I was like, why don't I just create our own, predominantly using most Ghanaian ingredients. And so yeah, voila, here's a pièce de resistance. Perfect rice, no ninko umona kashinjile ikumi una in Akorake is not any other food. This is Ndudu infusions. I mean, this is a base of a rice that you can then cook and do anything with. You can do a lot of things with. It's flavor packed with natural flavors, of course. You see, and look at it. It's just so nice and fluffy. If you're not following this channel, I don't know why you're not following it all, Charlie. You're missing out. Because this Christmas, I've definitely taken care of you guys. And look at this. You don't even need any dark soy sauce for this, because look at that kanzo. Yay! That kanzo alone. It's like flavor packed. So, imagine this Dawadawa filled thing with the aromatic Kasoa Pepper. Then you've also got the rosemary, the cinnamon, the wintia, the cloves. I brought it to you guys. So whilst it's hot, what I then do is sprinkle it with some basil. Now I'll tell you what, the basil works perfectly with this dish. Absolutely. Because of the pungent nature of the Dawadawa and the aromatic and sweet nature of the basil, it just complements it perfectly. So yeah, we have our pièce de resistance. I've removed all the other spices, but for decorating purposes and for people to know what has gone in, I'm just placing one of the African nutmeg, then also cinnamon stick and the wintia. That's also opening up another level of conversation, and it's an opportunity to introduce people to African ingredients as well, and how they can incorporate it into their everyday dishes. Now tell me your vegetarian friend will not find you like, hey, what catch things are these? Unza catcheno. Yeah. So is it bruni? Din Ndudu ichi. Kana Ndudu doare. A kacha or gala. Mowela. Look at this. I present to you the Dawadawa shenanigans. Now, I will leave the list of ingredients and measurements on my blog in dudubyfafa.blogspot.com as well as fafagilbert.com. Now, please don't forget to click the subscribe button and also the notification button, which means that each time I do upload a video, it's delivered straight to your email address or you're notified of it. Until next time, take care of you, be nice, be beautiful, and guess what? I love you just the way you are. And the yam fufu recipe is next, so do stay tuned.